Welcome to the video companion for episode 64 of the Classic Horrors Club podcast. This video contains highlights, video clips, and bonus features from the full podcast, which you can find on SoundCloud at the link shown below. Now let's open the door to the Eurocrypt of Christopher Lee. Sit back and enjoy the show.
To see our finest gifts we bring, to lay before the king, so to honor
What a melodious tune. I mean, I don't know what says Christmas more than Christopher Lee singing heavy metal versions of our beloved tunes. What a way to start this episode.
Well, I do know what is better than that, and that is a handful of Euro horror classics that Christopher Lee starred in the mid-60s.
Absolutely. I mean, Christopher Lee starred in a lot of movies, and not all of them great, but to get a selection of Euro horror movies, you know, remastered, looking better than they ever have before, and available for the first time, many of them in a nice, great box set. I mean, that is a Christmas gift. If you haven't, then that is the gift of the season as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, and if those of you watching the video companion, you will see we are in a crypt today, which is very appropriate. I just have to give a spoiler alert that I never knew with each case I opened what I would find. Maybe it would be a soundtrack, maybe it would be a card with something on it, maybe an extra DVD. I mean, it is just, the whole package is, not only is the set in itself a gift, but each component of it contains gifts. And it was just really enjoyable to open and go through.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a 9-disc set, 8 Blu-rays, 1 CD, and a book. And that's more than a pamphlet. It's a little nice mini book.
We're not going to cover in full all of the movies in this box set, but you want to tell people the ones we are going to cover?
Yes, the Eurocrypt of Christopher Lee collection has got a lot of movies in it. We are covering 3. We are going to be taking a look at Crypt of the Vampire, the Castle of the Living Dead, and the Torture Chamber of Dr. Sadism.
For our third movie, we will be joined by our friend Steve Turek to talk about the Torture Chamber of Dr. Sadism and then the set. So we have that to look forward to, if he's not completely exhausted from all the other podcast projects that he's been working on.
Ce château, d'où personne ne peut entendre les cris des victimes. Ici, la mort frappe sans pitié ceux qui tentent de faire la lumière sur ces crimes. Un symbole inquiétant, l'étoile à 5 branches. Chaque fois qu'elle se manifeste, une victime tombe. Un vent de terreur s'empare des vivants. Ils tentent en vain de fuir, mais la mort frappe tout. Un homme tidé met tout en œuvre pour découvrir l'assassin qui, sans pitié, abat sans cesse de nouvelles victimes. Découvrira-t-il le secret de la crypte du vampire? La crypte du vampire.
Durant mon dernier séjour à Londres, j'ai vu des tableaux anciens retrouvés et restaurés par vous. Vous êtes un peu spécialisé dans ce genre de recherche, et c'est pour cela que je vous ai fait demander.
Je suis à votre disposition, monsieur. De quoi s'agit-il?
D'une question de vie ou de mort.
Je vous écoute.
Pourquoi ne m'épouses-tu pas?
Tu pourrais être ma fille.
Et alors adopte-moi?
Tu tiens donc tellement à faire partie de notre famille?
Oui, beaucoup. Pas seulement par ambition ou par calcul, mais j'aimerais tellement, moi aussi, avoir un cas brodé sur mes vêtements.
Seulement pour ça?
film hallucinant où se mêlent l'horreur des crimes et la passion déchaînée d'un homme. Qui est l'assassin? Pourquoi emporte-t-il ses victimes dans la crypte du vampire? Un suspense d'horreur qui vous fera frémir et vous laissera haletant. Crypt du vampire. Un film de Thomas Miller avec Christopher Lee, Audrey Amber, Ursula Davis, José Campos, Vera Valmont, Nella Conzu. La crypte du vampire.
Crypt of the Vampire was written by Tonino Valeri and Ernesto Gastaldi. It is from the novel Carmilla by Sheridan Le Fanu. We'll talk about how faithful that is or not. And it was directed by Camillo Mastrorsink.
Or Thomas Miller. Let's go with Thomas Miller. That's easier to pronounce.
Yes, yes. I like to go with their real names, although
I agree.
They changed them to make them look English, and with such uncreative names at that. I mean,
yes.
Joe Smith.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Yeah. So it was released on May 27th, 1964 in Italy. It runs 85 minutes long. And Rich, did you know it's available on Blu-ray in the Eurocrypt of Christopher Lee?
I've heard something about that. I'll have to look into that.
Well, how did you like it?
First time viewing for me. And, I enjoyed parts of it. This is an interesting film because, Christopher Lee playing the character of Count Karnstein, it seems to me like, he's there and then he's not there and then he's there. I mean, it's, he kind of comes and go in the film.
To spend several days with us.
Oh, all right, Papa.
Rowena, Herr Klaus is a special guest. Prepare his room.
Seemed to really drag in the middle for me. I felt that there was some meandering and some slow moments, but it kept my interest level up because, again, I liked what was happening visually on the screen. What about you?
This is gorgeous black and white cinematography. And this viewing, I liked this movie a lot. I really, really liked it. I didn't get any of the dragging that you felt. I loved the sort of three-way relationship between Friedrich, Laura, and Luba. It's so funny. And for those that don't know, Carmilla is, supposedly a lesbian vampire. And it's sort of subdued back when it was written. It wasn't really played up, but it's there if you read it. And it's sort of the same here. It's very innocent. The two women hold hands and go to the bathroom together and, things like that. But women do that, but so it's there if you want to read it in. So it's very interesting because Friedrich wants to give Laura comfort. And before Luba appears, it even appears they're going to go down that road of a romance. But then suddenly Luba appears and she's not interested any longer. And there's a great scene where he tells her that he doesn't want her to be lonely anymore.
To help you if I could, make you feel less alone. in some way.
But I'm no longer alone.
The hunchback character, the hunchback beggar, because almost any Euro horror movie needs a hunchback beggar.
Absolutely,
great
yeah.
lines.
Ugliness can often bring good luck, you know. Beauty carries seeds of misfortune.
These are probably things I didn't see the first time, didn't appreciate. I would really love to hear what you thought of it if you returned to it, you know, a few years from now, because I'm actually in a debate whether this is my favorite of the three or not.
Slowly, relentlessly, destiny ticks off the terrifying minutes of anguish that freeze the blood. The castle of the living dead. In an atmosphere of horror, the story of a man who violates the forbidden frontiers of science to arrive at a frightful but lucid madness and atrocious inhuman crime. Starring the unforgettable creator of Dracula, Christopher Lee, in a new triumphant performance, breathtaking as never before, sadistic and pitiless, subtle and monstrous. It is a film with a thrill a minute. It will hold you spellbound with its unexpected, shocking surprises, in which tragic reality and unearthly fantasy blend in an atmosphere of horror and suspense.
Castle of the Living Dead was written and directed by Warren Kiefer. It clocks in at 91 minutes. It was released on August 5th, 1964, and again is available from Severin Films on the Eurocrypt of Christopher Lee in Blu-ray.
Go figure.
So, Rich, take it away. You've got some history with this movie, it sounds like.
I watched this in the early 1980s with my dad. This was on Creature Feature with Cremation Mortem on a Saturday night. Its quirkiness, I think, is why I've always been drawn to this movie. I love Christopher Lee in it, but I love the gypsy troupe, and I love the crazy witch. You know, some will live, some will die, and you know, Donald Sutherland playing multiple roles. And I love the fact that, you know, spoiler alert, you know, it's kind of like, you know, the character of Nick, who's the dwarf character, is kind of the hero of the piece in a weird way. I mean, towards the end of the film, you know, he ends up not playing, you know, not being the final hero, the very final moment, but he ends up playing you know, kind of a dashing character in kind of this weird way. What about you?
Well, so the interesting, this was my first time viewing, and this is the only one, well, that we're talking about that was first time. So I'm going to flip places with you and hope that maybe I'd like it more in a second viewing. Some of the same reasons you cited for the first movie. I thought it was incredibly slow moving. I thought I mean, I was flat out bored in some parts. It has a lot of great elements, like you mentioned. It just doesn't go together well for me. I did not like it. This is my least favorite of the three. A couple nitpicky things. The cinematography, I don't think is as good as the others. I think it's the weakest of that. The black and whites don't look as sharp and rich as they do in the others. I didn't think Christopher Lee's makeup was very good. He looked like a raccoon. I mean,
he did look a little off.
I don't think this is his best performance out of these movies. So now that's all my bad. I want to talk about a lot of the good things that are in here. So I just said I didn't think Lee was very good. There's one part where he's terrific, and that's when he's watching the show.
The Park of Monsters.
Okay, this is the one with the big stone monster?
Big stones, yes. This is in Bamarzo, Italy, the Park of Monsters. It's the all these weird, huge sculptures of mythical creatures end up playing a big part in several scenes of the movie, including the kind of cat and mouse chase scene between Sandro and Nick. As Nick keeps kind of popping out of the type, Sandro, it keeps going back and forth. It's a fun scene. I think that, it's these weird big stone statues that end up appearing several times during the course of the movie, help it stand out. Some of the things that stood out to me in the movie, besides the statues, there was the one line where Count Drago's talking about the eternal theater. He's got this really morbid tourist trap, expecting Chuck Connors to pop up behind the corner here any minute, set up where everyone, all these victims are playing a part. It is eternal theater. It's my favorite of the three, fueled by nostalgia.
And not my favorite, but I eagerly look forward to a second viewing where I will like it much more.
Human beings are horribly slaughtered in the dungeon of doom. Grisly sacrifices for a maniac's vengeance. Men without souls whose artificial blood keeps their cruel brains alive. See just how far maniacal mistreatment can go. It's a new bizarre shocker from the master of the macabre, Edgar Allan Poe. With Christopher Lee in his greatest horror role since Dracula. When the dead count's mangled body rises from its coffin, a new siege of the sinister starts.
I needed the blood of 13 women. I found 12. They struggled against death. It was that desire to live.
It's far out, fantastic and frightening. The creeping, crawling terror that haunts those marked for diabolical disaster. Here's the thrills of more than a dozen horror movies all rolled into one. Nobody will ever escape from the blood demon. We dare you to keep watching the screen.
Well, look what crawled into the crypt. In this movie, we've got spiders, we've got snakes, we've got scorpions, we've got vultures. Why wouldn't we also have Steve Turek? Welcome, Steve.
Welcome, yes, and the terrifying Milo right there, that alone, oh my goodness.
Hello. Milo's not terrifying. He's
no
magnificent Milo, the marvelous Milo.
I think it's going to be cool to hear your take on the torture chamber of Dr. Sadism, which is our third official movie on the show today.
So being the guest, Steve, usually this is the time I say, Rich, what did you think of it? But you're our guest. Steve, have a first take at it. What did you think of the torture chamber of Dr. Sadism?
I like it. I mean, I enjoyed it very much. It's one of my favorite films to watch, in a sense, out of this collection. And I like the music, I like the acting, I like the whole story structure that was set up. Christopher Lee could have been utilized a little more, but then again, there's a lot of movies where Christopher Lee's brought in for just a couple of days, and you're using his name recognition to help get the film out there. It's just a wonderful film. It had a nice little bit of humor in with it, with the scary atmosphere. Production values seem to be very good from my point of view. So I enjoyed it very much.
All right, Rich, you want to go next?
I will. Yeah, visually, there was some great the shot of the wagon, and the sunset. I guess that was a great shot. Visually, I want to say that in a lot of ways, this might be the highlight of the box set.
We should note that this is in color. The previous movies have been black and white.
I thought the story was good. The Poe connection, stretching it a little bit, but probably more of a Poe connection than other films that you will see pop up and say based on the works of Edgar Allan Poe. And I'm like, what? There's a black cat in the corner, and that's the Poe connection. This one, at least we had the pit, and the pendulum, and there was some stuff going on. I love the paintings, the wall paintings that were made to resemble Hieronymus Bosch. Very cool. I did have a problem with some of the music, though. It seemed a little uneven. Some of it at times felt almost like grocery store music. I don't know why. I just kind of felt like I was in the 1970s grocery store. At the beginning of the movie, though, I was surprised for a movie with the title of The Torture Chamber of Dr. Sadism, that when the mask is put on Christopher Lee's face, that we didn't see more blood. What about you, Jeff? What did you think of it?
Well, I got to go third, so I just have to repeat everything you all said. This is a gorgeous movie. The scene you mentioned with the cart wagon going across the grass is just lush green, and the sky is just like orange. I mean, it almost looks like it's painted, which contributes to that sort of surreal thing that you mentioned. Is it happening? Is it not? These other two movies were filmed obviously in the actual castle or in the ruins. To me, it looked like a lot of this, they were sets. And obviously some of them were, because there were trap doors and there were cubby holes and things like that. But just, they didn't look bad. I'm not saying that they looked like sets, but I'm just saying this is more of the artistry of this movie. I thought they were beautiful. I thought the colors were great. So creative. I mean, walls with skulls built into them, and little booby traps and little, like I said, cubby holes and these creatures running around. There's just like a lot of detail to that that I really enjoyed visually. I liked the makeup much better than in our last movie, Rich. I thought the sort of bluish green pallor to his face was really good. I liked that. And then just finally, like, there's real suspense in this, and it doesn't show you his arms and legs being pulled out of him when he's drawn and quartered, but it shows the horses taking off and it raising his body, and then it cuts. And I think that's perfect, because we don't have to see that gore, but we can imagine it. And then to follow it up in the next scene with the guy telling that story, there's a drawing of a stick figure with his arms.
I did like the scene where we see his body in the case, and then the arms and legs kind of reattach themselves.
My favorite character, though, was Vladimir Medar, who played Peter Fabian.
Yeah.
He was wonderful. He brought in gusto. He brought in energy. He brought in humor. He was almost like a combination of swashbuckler, comedian, thrown in the one, that really kept the movie, when it was doing exposition type things or when there's not really much happening, he kept things moving along at a crisp pace. And I think if you were to remove that character and that actor particularly from the film, it would be a huge loss in the film.
And you gotta love how your guy Fabian uses his peg leg as a tool to build steps to climb the wall. That was great.
He's MacGyver. He's the MacGyver of the movie. I mean,
and we haven't even talked about, so we talk about the castle, but I'm guessing probably half the movie is the journey to the castle. And that is just amazing. And here's in one of those details, they're riding along in the carriage and they hit a bump. Well, that's not a bump, it's a body in the road, and they look out the windows and there's all these human limbs hanging from the trees. Some of them even look like they're growing out of the trees, like they are the branches themselves. Just the detail is I just think it's incredible. I loved it.
Well, I watched all 5 of the movies in the collection, so I'm gonna put them in like kind of an order for me. And the torture chamber of Dr. Sadism. I mean, that name is just going to put seats in the theater, Rich. If you're wondering why it's called that, it's because who was this? You know, who's Count Regular? Nobody knows. Sadism. That sells. Because sex sells, sadism sells. That always sells. And this is a drive-in movie if I ever saw one. Easily, this was my favorite film. And now 2, 3, and 4 for me were so close together. I'm just going to say it's the middle, and it really depends on what mood I'm in is what order they'll be in. But I enjoyed all 3 of them. Castle of the Living Dead. I really enjoyed that one. I thought that a nice atmosphere to it. I liked the characters. I liked the way it was set up. I really thought it was a good thing. I was not expecting it to be taxidermy. Sherlock Holmes and the Deadly Necklace. I enjoyed it. It might have been my number 1 if it wouldn't have been for Christopher Lee's voice being dubbed, but by an American voice. That was weird to get to because Christopher Lee is prominently featured in this. He is Sherlock Holmes. His acting, I'm judging by his body language and his motions, was good. I liked the way the script, I liked the way the direction was handled. I thought it was a nice, solid Sherlock Holmes film. Not one of the greater ones, not one of the worst ones, but it was solid. I just wish I could hear Christopher Lee's voice. That's the one thing. It's like, I think it might, if it would have been his voice, it might have been my number 1. And that takes me to Challenge the Devil. Now, Challenge the Devil is an interesting thing. You guys did not talk about this film, I believe, at all.
We haven't yet, but we will.
So this one is subtitled, and it's, I think, the director's only movie ever. And this movie is just plain weird. I haven't figured out yet if it's weird bad or weird good. And I like weird movies. I like 1977's House a lot, the Japanese Toho movie. So I enjoy weirdness in movies that you have to ponder, and sometimes it takes a day or two of reflection and the atmosphere and the imagery to hit you. And this movie has a lot of imagery, a lot of interesting concepts in the movie.
What's the bottom of your list then?
Yeah, and I've got to prepare myself for this.
This is one I'm never going to watch again. I mean,
that's such an extreme reaction. I can understand. Well, I'll let you talk and go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I might watch it again, but I'm not really looking forward to it. That's Crypt of the Vampire. It was a drag. I literally fell asleep during the movie in midday. It put me out. I mean, when I say snooze fest, it literally TKO'd me. And then I came to 20 minutes later, and then I had to go back to where I was. And I tell you, whatever I was dreaming, I think was better than when I had to rewatch. It's just, and people talk about the climax being this, you got to make it to the epic climax. I'm thinking, yeah, because people are happy for 2 things. One, that it was ending. And 2, after the low expectations the whole film, anything was Rich laugh. Anything was going to be good. Now, having said that, there are good things in this movie. The cinematography is nice. I mean, it's
gorgeous.
It's the way they lit up everything and had the people. It was very well done that way. It's just the pacing was so.
So let's talk Theater Macabre real quick. I think the addition of that in this set is awesome because I didn't even know it existed before this set came out. I had not heard of Theater Macabre. 71, 72, 24 episode series that was made in Poland and apparently did get released in the States. I don't think it got like on a major network. I think it was like syndicated. Christopher Lee serves as the host. He doesn't star in any of the segments. They're 25-minute segments. Christopher Lee he comes out, he's got the great mustache and look, and he does what he does, and he just introduces the story.
How do you do? I'm Christopher Lee. A man may love and forget 100 women, But who could forget his first love? Take young Valdemar, for instance. He was stubborn in his devotion to the lady in question because she was rich, beautiful, and a princess. He was not put off by the host of admirers surrounding her until he found out who one of them was, and then he threatened to jump off a cliff. But it was only a bluff. It would probably have been better for young Valdemar in Ivan Turgenev's strange story if he had never met the elusive young lady. Even when she said no to him for the last time, he was prepared to die for her, for his was an undying love.
I believe it's the first one. It was called First Love.
Yeah, that's it.
And this was before I saw Crypt of the Vampire, which probably did not help me going into Crypt of the Vampire. And because
you were already being lulled to sleep. Exactly. You were already put into a coma before Crypt of the Vampire even started.
Well, you think something called Crypt of the Vampire? I thought I was going to be like it was going to be a pick me up after First Love, and I'm thinking for a TV series to start off with that as episode 1 was a crazy choice.
Thank you for joining us, Milo. Thank you for joining us for part of it, at least. And we'll have to do it again sometime, except for your, bringing us down with your bad opinion of Crypt of the Vampire.
Thank you, though, for coming on and helping us celebrate our wonderful Christopher Lee Christmas. And as I know that Jeff and I will do here shortly, but a happy holiday season to you, my friend.
And we've talked very little about it, but this is our holiday episode. So if you celebrate it, Merry Christmas. Other holidays seem to go around this time of year. So I hope everyone's happy and healthy, gets to see family this year. It has a great, great holiday season.
Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, happy winter solstice, happy Kwanzaa. I'm sure there's probably a gazillion others, or maybe just happy December 25th.
All right, so we'll go out on what is probably simultaneously the most peppy version of Silent Night I've ever heard, as well as the most ear-piercing version. Silent Night by Christopher Lee, again from the 2012 single, A Heavy Metal Christmas, available on Apple Music. We will see you in a month.
Stay safe and take care, everyone.